was sure by now, God, you would have reached down and wiped our tears away, stepped in and saved the day. But once again, I say amen, and it's still raining.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jay-Z here. It is Tuesday, April 16th, 2013. And on tonight's edition of Flashpoint Radio, we have a wrap-up of yesterday's tragedy in Boston. I don't really want to dwell on it too much because we won't know much for quite some time. Prayers should go out to those affected. That's what God's there for. God is there for when we need Him, and these people need Him. So pray for them, and our hearts go out to all those that have been affected by this evil, is what I'm going to call it. It's terrorism, tragedy. It's evil. I just believe that it's evil, attached just to the same evil that's attached to all of the other heinous things that go on in this country. But first, I want to have a quick update on what's happening here in Missouri. We have this from STLtoday.com. Missouri Department of Revenue Director resigns. That's a good thing, I suppose. Somebody's taking the blame for the data sharing. The Highway Patrol asked the Department of Revenue if they could have the list of concealed carry holders. They complied. The Highway Patrol eventually complied, giving it to the federal government, which is the reason they got it in the first place. It's a whole thing here in Missouri, you know. We want our privacy, and especially those of us that are carrying concealed weapons want to know that our privacy is respected by those that are supposed to protect us. So this gentleman, Brian Long, has resigned in the face of this scandal, if you will. And we have this as well from the SanFranciscoGate.com. Missouri to stop copying concealed gun documents. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon said Tuesday his administration will stop making electronic copies of people's concealed gun permits. Oh, thank you. And we find at the very bottom of this article that the federal agency that the Highway Patrol gave the list to said it was unable to read the encrypted disks and destroyed them. So I'm sure this is going to be filed under no harm, no foul. No, the crime was committed. The complicitness of our Highway Patrol has been exposed. They did what the federal government did to the detriment of its own citizens. So this Saturday, we will be repeating our protests at the Highway Patrol Troop C headquarters at Highway 94 and Highway 40. Link below to Dwayne Weed, the Survival Docs video from our last protest. It was just two of us, but it was powerful. I think we got across to many people. But let's move right along to the story that is the story of the day, the story of the week. It'll be the story for quite some time, or at least until something else happens, and that is the double explosion, double bombing in Boston at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. Turns out now they're saying it was pressure cookers, which is an IED, improvised explosive device. Military people know what that is. It's what Al-Qaeda has used, or insurgents or militants, whatever, in the Middle East have used to fight back against the occupying force of the United States and the other Western countries. But let's first look at this article from Infowars.com. Watch the video in the link below. Check out all these links below. I always cite everything I talk about here on Flashpoint Radio. But it turns out that Family Guy on March 17th played an episode called The Turban Cowboy, and it revolved around Peter Griffin running in with this Middle Eastern man, and he gets himself embroiled in a terrorist plot. Well, one quick scene, and if you know Family Guy, it's a bunch of quick cut scenes. One quick scene cuts to Peter Griffin being interviewed by Bob Costas, voiced by the actual Bob Costas, where he says, Peter, how did you win? It's either how did you win or what do you think about how you won the Boston Marathon? And behind him it shows Peter Griffin driving a car through the finish line of the Boston Marathon with dismembered bodies being blown around and blood and guts. Pretty coincidental, huh? Then another scene in the same episode features Peter Griffin calling on his cell phone while sitting with his friends at the bar, and it rings, and an explosion is heard off screen. He says, must be a wrong number, dials it again, and another explosion is heard off screen. Very short time between those explosions. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying these things happen way too often, and I guess we're just going to have to go with every event, every terrorist attack is going to have these crazy coincidences that are not attached to any other crimes. Just the crimes that get pushed to the forefront of the public's mind to get us afraid. I don't know. Watch the video below. You do your own research. Wikipedia has whitewashed the entire episode's entry, so looks like they're trying to cover that up. This comes to us from Firehouse.com. This is from April 12th. Boston EMS is deploying a new off-the-shelf lightweight mobile device for the first time at the Boston Marathon on April 15th. The platform from Safety Pad is intended for use in mass casualty situations. It's an Android app on a platform, it's a software on the Android platform, and it's on tablets that these EMS workers can take into a mass casualty situation and triage people, get people evacuated and the such. Turns out I did some research. A version of this was used last year, so it's not really a conspiracy. It's just very odd that they come out with this, and the first time it's rolled out is at the Boston Marathon. I wonder if it worked. I'd like to find that out. From the Chief, SquamishChief.com, I believe this is out of Canada. Boston runners were warned. Squamish man. A man, Mike Heiliger, 59, said a woman holding several bags was telling runners who were picking up their pre-race packages in downtown Boston on Saturday, April 13th, that they were going to die if they participated in the event. Once again, a little bit odd, but who knows? Crazy people say crazy things. Just very coincidental. She had the date off. She said they were going to die tomorrow, but she didn't know when the race was. So I say probably a crazy person. But this next one is where I really have to question, because the mainstream media is not covering this. From Local 15, the NBC affiliate out of Boston, UM coach, bomb-sniffing dog spotters on roof before explosion. University of Mobile's cross-country coach, who was near the finish line when a series of explosions went off, said he thought it was odd there were bomb-sniffing dogs at the start and finish line. They just kept making announcements to the participants, do not worry. It's just a training exercise. Coach Ali Stevenson told Local 15. He's been in London, D.C., Chicago, at all those marathons. He said he's never seen police presence like that. Now, undoubtedly, at a large event like that, there are going to be police presence this day and age because they have to spend the money we've allocated for security. But the announcements on the loudspeakers telling people before the explosion took place that it's just a drill is just very odd. Very odd. And this is what I think. This is my, if it's not an actual terrorist attack or an actual, as it seems, event, if it has to be a conspiracy, this is what I think, is that they got advanced knowledge, or it was a sting gone wrong, like all the other FBI plots that have been foiled in the last 10 years. But I think they had advanced knowledge, did not want to warn the public, did not want to cause a panic, and they thought that they might be able to find the devices before they exploded. They unfortunately did not, and people were hurt. I don't know if that was the case, but they're not admitting to that. They're not even admitting to these warnings so far. So we'll have to watch this and see, but it just seems very odd. It seems like they had prior knowledge, and we all know what having prior knowledge points to. Not saying anything. I'm not saying bomb squad people set bombs by any means. But what you want to think about, what we want to think about now is what comes, because it doesn't matter if it was a right-wing extremist, because it doesn't matter if it was a right-wing extremist, an Al-Qaeda operative, someone from Iran, North Korea, South Korea, or just some schizophrenic person who hates marathons. What we have to watch is what comes of this, what the government tries to do with this crisis. Like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So we can look at a few things: enhanced security, a growing police state, and an encroachment on our privacy, some way, shape, or form. And we'll look that that's what's happening. But what's already happening is this panic that we cannot get wrapped up in. This does not make us all victims. This does not put us all in danger of being killed by some terrorist. But on Drudge Report, we have NYPD responds to 77 reports of suspicious packages in 24 hours. trash cans removed from U.S. Capitol, bomb threat at Houston High School, Maryland courthouse is evacuated, Duke University clears building, and then Homeland Security website, learn how DHS helps keep our nation safe. People, calm down. This was a criminal act. If it was a crime. People got killed. It was a malicious act. It may have been terrorism, but terrorism is usually pulled off by a government that has some sort of ulterior motive. We have to calm down and take it easy. We have to take it easy, because if this goes crazy, then they're going to be able to grab hold of this emotion that the public has and use it in any way they want. And they're already doing this. From the Daily Beast, America's new bomb threat. This was linked on the Drudge Report. This is from last year, 2012, in July. Some of the deadliest weapons in Iraq and Afghanistan, improvised explosive devices, or IEDs, are headed to U.S. shores, warns a top general. Now, I talked about this last year on Flashpoint Radio. Link will be below if I can find time to find it. But they're already calling they're calling back to this warning that was given last year about IEDs coming to America, usually through the southern border. I went to military.com to get my article. Military urged to help counter IEDs at home. Why? Because I think if there is some sort of ulterior motive or whatever the government's going to use, it will revolve around this. And it is that Congress has been screaming at the federal government to allow the military to train civilian police forces to deal with IEDs. But this article states legal restrictions on the activities of U.S. armed forces are slowing crucial collaboration, insiders complain. Federal laws date back to Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, limit the use of U.S. armed forces in domestic law enforcement and training. Why? Because we don't want military on the streets of America. North Korea has military on the streets of America. A terrorist narco state has military on the streets of their country. Please, calm down, people. This does not need some sort of military action. And what I'm afraid of is they're going to use this as a reason to repeal Posse Comitatus, which, yes, allows the military to train civilian police forces against IEDs, but it also allows them to just do anything they want on U.S. soil, which is very bad because that is the federal arm of the government. That takes away law enforcement and crowd control from local people and puts it on a giant force run out of Washington. But we've already got people calling for it, and it is, of course, Representative Peter King, a Republican. GOP Rep. Peter King on Boston bombing. We need more cameras, of course. So we have people calling for maybe the end of Posse Comitatus. Now people calling for more cameras. What's next? Viper squads at every sporting event, at every large event gathering in a large city? I don't know. But we have to watch for this, and we have to calm down, people. This event shows us, if it was a real event, that the government can't protect us. They had cameras. They had license plate reading cameras. They have those minority report cameras that can read people's faces. They have all that in Boston. It's Boston. They can't keep you safe. You can keep your safe self by being vigilant and looking to the truth for your information, turning off the mainstream media and looking to independent media. And that's why get yourself an I'm with Alex Jones and I'm with Alex t-shirt, because we have to stand with people that at least ask the question, is it possible? Is it possible that elements in our government use actions and use events like these to gain an upper hand on its people? He's the only one saying it. He's the only one pointing out the criminality of our government. They may be inept, but they're also criminals. Wake up, people. The truth is out there, and it needs people to support it. Stand for truth or stand aside. Pray for those in Boston. Lift them up to the Lord. We have to be vigilant, and we have to fight for the truth and be peaceful and nonviolent. Jay-Z signing off for Flashpoint Radio, saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky.
I'll praise you in this storm.